Next up in our Big 12 preview is the Kansas Jayhawks. And Dalton, Lance Leipold, man, is a miracle worker for what he's been doing with this Jayhawk program. They used to be one of the laughing stocks of college football. They had a 9-4 record in 2023, which was the first winning season that they've had in 15 years. They also won the Guaranteed Rate Bowl as well. That was mainly due to their offense, which is basically the same going into 2024. The only real concern on that side of the ball, Dawn, is the departure of offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, who is now at Penn State for the same job, and also Jalen Daniels, who needs to stay healthy because he's missed 10 games. He missed 10 games this past season with a back issue. And on the other side of the ball, the secondary is very, very strong for Kansas as well, man. So I really like this Kansas team heading into next year, and mainly it's because of how much talent they bring back offensively.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're going to find themselves in some shootouts, and the one concern that you have when it comes to their defense is their front seven, right? They lost several players in that front seven, including the star edge rusher, Austin Booker. But that'll be the one thing. And again, we've talked a lot about how run defense is going to be at a premium for every team in the Big 12 with all the good running games that they're going to face. Kansas is no exception for that, right? Outside the top 75 in run defense grade last year, and they, like I just said, they lost their best player. So their front seven is going to be a real key to their season, along with Jalen Daniels' health.
Yeah, and just go back to that offense for just a second. I mean, you look at what they did last year. LSU, Oregon, Georgia. Those are the only offenses in the country that were better in terms of EPA per play among Power 5 programs. They bring back Jalen Daniels, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the draft, according to our lead draft analyst, Trevor Sikkema. A top 10 running back unit headlined by Devin Neal, we'll talk about in just a second. Bring back their top 3 receivers as well. 3 offensive linemen who played at least 400 snaps. So, yeah, you lose Kotelnicki, man, but they have so much talent offensively to make up for it. So, big fan of that about that offense. And, yeah, the front seven's a little bit of a question mark, but, again, their secondary is pretty good. Tell me more about Jalen Daniels, Dalton, though. Obviously, this is a guy who's really good when he's on the field, but unfortunately for Kansas, he hasn't really been on the field that much over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious is the obvious. When he is healthy, he's really, really good. He's got a shotgun for an arm. He's really mobile. He can help a lot in the design run game. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country throwing down the middle of the field. And at least with Andy Kotelnicki in there, it's a complicated offense, right? They ran more motion than any team in the country. They use every square inch of the field to their advantage, in part because Daniel's arm strength is capable of getting the ball there. He just has to be healthy. To be honest with you, when you watch him healthy, there's not a ton of holes to poke in his game. He just has to be out there. He's yet to take 300 dropbacks in a season. Kind of the theme that I've been going with for the Jayhawks this entire offseason is just, if Jalen Daniels plays all 12 games, they're going to be in contention for a Big 12 title. He's that good. He's just not on the field enough.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, he's a really good player when on the field. And one guy who they have been able to rely on recently is their running back, their star tailback, Devin Neal, who we think is a top 10 running back in college football. Over the last 2 years, he has 2,373 rushing yards. Only Quinshon Judkins and Blake Corum had more among Power 5 running backs. 25 rushing touchdowns over the last 2 years as well. Only Quinshon Judkins, Blake Corum, and Audric Estime had more. So he has been an incredibly productive running back for Kansas over the past couple of years. Such a shifty back, man. I mean, he is constantly breaking ankles out there against defenders and has elite change of direction ability, unbelievable jump cuts. I'm a huge fan of watching Devin Neal, and with a healthy Jalen Daniels, man, that is one of the better quarterback running back combinations that we have, not only in the Big 12 conference, but in college football as well.
Yeah, agreed. And you talk about Neal being a top 10 guy for us at his position. Defensively, they have another one at our number 10 spot at corner was Kobe Bryant, friend of the show, right? And look, I know you've had the banter back and forth with him, but he's a really good player, man. He might take some gambles on defense. And you talk about a corner who wants the smoke. This guy wants it. The 11th best run D grade in the country among all corners. He can make plays on the ball. He's a hard hitter. Sometimes he'll take chances trying to get to the football, but, man, the end results are really, really good. And he's one half of a really good cornerback pair with Mello Dotson that I think doesn't get talked about enough. Kobe Bryant makes a big, big impact on the outside on defense.
Yeah, just to kind of go into the relationship that we have with Kobe Bryant, he actually DM'd me back in February when we were putting out our top 10 players by position video, and he was saying, man, if I'm not a top 10 corner, that will be insane, totally insane. He said, really, top 5, no cap, So he's a guy that, you you always talk about the cornerback mentality, right? Jalen Ramsey and other guys like that. He's got that mentality, man. He's got the mentality of I'm the best out here on the field. And you need that kind of mentality. I love it, man. So he is the absolute man. I'm a huge fan of Kobe Bryant. He told me that he wants to be a first or second round pick, and I think he's got a really good chance of being that as well. Also, not only thinking about himself, he also DM'd me, Dalton, when we were putting out our position unit videos. He said if Kansas doesn't have a top 10 secondary, that's going to be crazy. Unfortunately, they did not make the top 10 secondaries list, but he's sticking up for his boys too. So it's not just himself that he's looking out for. He's an unreal guy. I love his game, dude. I mean, he makes some unreal interceptions. Also, as a run defender, dude, he is a willing run defender, and he had one hit where he like destroyed a running back. Guy fumbled it. He picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown. Like, he is an awesome guy to watch. And again, there are some things to clean up with him. He's a little bit hit or miss right now, but I'm a big fan of Kobe Bryant. I think he's got the name Kobe Bryant, and he's got that Mamba mentality as well out there. So big fan of his game. But Dalton, let's go over the bottom line for Kansas. Is this a Big 12 championship contender, or is this more of a really good Big 12 team, but not at the top of the conference right now?
It's the biggest capital if in the entire conference is if Jalen Daniels, can play all 12 games, 13 games, however many. When he's in there, they have one of the best offenses in the conference, without question. Their secondary is good enough to keep them in these games, even if they get in shootouts, right? Obviously, we've talked about the concerns with the front seven, but it really just comes down to Jalen Daniels, man. And last year, they still won 9 games, a lot of them with Jason Bean at quarterback. Jason Bean's gone now. I believe he signed with Indianapolis after the draft. This is just one of the biggest X factors in the entire conference is Jalen Daniels' health, right? If he plays the entire year, you could be talking about a guy who has the potential to win like Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, like that good. He just has to play the full complement of games and find a way to stay healthy, right? If he does, I think they're certainly in the top 5 when you look at their offense, especially in this conference. That's just the biggest problem right now is getting over that hurdle and getting Daniels to play 12 games.
Yeah, right now they're the 5th best odds according to FanDuel to win the conference at plus 950. And Don, you look at the schedule. I mean, the only team I would say that is definitively better than Kansas on their schedule is Kansas State. Right, I mean, even that's even a close one too. So
I don't think that's definitive at all. If Daniels, they played Kansas State last year without Daniels or Bean, and so they really went in there with a 3rd string. We don't know if Kansas State really is better than Kansas.
I agree. I actually misspoke there. Yeah, I think Kansas is they are on par with almost everyone on their schedule, if not better than almost everyone on their schedule. So I think it's a very advantageous schedule for them. They avoid Arizona, who you and I are both really, really high on. They have a relatively easy non-con. They play Lindenwood, then Illinois, then UNLV. Like that's very manageable. And yeah, I like the schedule for Kansas. I think they absolutely could be a Big 12 title contender because of that offense, like you said. And they have a really, really good secondary, even though they're not a top 10 secondary, much to the chagrin of Kobe Bryant. They are a really good secondary. And then also that offense, man. You mentioned if Jalen Daniels stays healthy, that is going to be a really, really tough offense to stop. Now, I am really curious to see how they do without Andy Kotelnicki because I think he is a brilliant offensive mind, but they have the talent offensively to remain a top 5 offense in the Power 5. And, Jeff Grimes is their new offensive coordinator now. So we'll see how Jeff Grimes can do with all the talent they have offensively. But that's what we got for our preview of the Kansas Jayhawks. Hey, thanks for watching the PFF College Football Show. Before I let you go, though, we have an unbelievable deal for you guys right now. If you use the code CFB25, you get 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. We've got the 2024 College Football Preview Guide that you can find over at pff.com featuring the best players in the country from all 70 Power 5 teams, plus 10 Group of 5 teams that have the best chance at making the college football playoff as well. You can also gain access to NCAA premium stats for historical games, teams, and player tracking dating all the way back to 2014, so the last decade or so of college football. All the stats you can hope for, you can find in PFF Premium as well. Also, you can be the GM of your favorite NFL team with our unbelievable mock draft simulator where you can draft up to 7 rounds of players for your NFL team. And if you want to dominate your fantasy league, you can do that as well using the best fantasy tools on the planet. All of that and more with your PFF Plus annual subscription, which you can find for 25% off right now with the code you can find in the description Or if you want to go to subscribe.pff.com and use the code CFB25 at checkout, again, you get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. This won't last forever, so make sure you take advantage of it right now.